Alright, Shove It Squad, welcome back to After the Damn War, the show where we continue watching the 2010 events on TNA and WWE RAW. I'm starting to see a pattern emerging. TNA put on the more entertaining TV show, but the WWE tend to destroy their pay-per-view offering, as we saw recently with Victory Road and Money in the Bank. As it turns out, today's video is going to be a very closely run contest, so I really need your help in deciding the winner of this one. I'm going to pin a comment at the top, and you need to like the comment for a WWE win tonight and reply to the comment for a TNA win tonight. Because, in my opinion, I thought both of these shows were an awful lot of fun. Anyway, as the WWE won last time, let's start out with them and see if any new storylines are starting up after the pay-per-view. We're starting off with a huge match tonight, a triple threat for the #1 contendership, Randy Orton versus Chris Jericho versus Edge. So basically, a bunch of guys who couldn't get the job done at the Money in the Bank ladder match. Question, why do these guys get a shot but nobody else from the Money in the Bank match does? Predictably, Edge and Jericho team up on Orton for ages. Orton eventually reverses a double team move into a double DDT and the crowd roar with happiness. Orton starts wearing the Edge man out with multiple knee drops. He starts gritting his teeth and going nuts when Jericho returns and hits the code breaker for a 2 count. Edge has to break up the pin. That causes Edge and Jericho to start fighting on the outside. Y2J wins that fight, but he's forgotten about Orton, who barges him off the ring apron. Randy Orton tries to hit them with a double draping DDT, but only catches Jericho with that one. Edge saves the pin, and he slams Orton into the barricade on the outside. But Edge can't get going as Jericho drags him out of the ring into the commentary desk. Chris Jericho tries to cheat with a pin, which doesn't work for him. Orton's back now, and he's hitting Jericho with a snap slam for a 2 count. Edge isn't spared either as he gets a cross backbreaker, because Randy Orton is very angry tonight. He's too distracted though, and Chris Jericho puts him in the walls. After about 20 seconds, man, it's not a very strong submission, is it? Edge breaks up the hold and hits an execution for a 2. Jericho counters his spear into another walls, this time Edge makes the ropes. Chris Jericho is slow getting up, so Edge kicks him into a pretty nice roll up for a 2. Edge clears him from the ring now, but Orton's back again. Edge counters the RKO into an Edge-o-matic for a 2 count. And I don't want to hear you saying it never gets the job done. It actually beat somebody a couple of weeks back. It's Edge's turn to start gritting his teeth and going nuts, but Chris Jericho stops his spear and rolls him up with Edge reversing the pin. This is a good match, and now every man is down for a triple down. Back on their feet and everybody fails on their finishers. Randy Orton fills his nappy of rage and he hits both guys with an RKO and he pins Edge. Randy Orton is going to SummerSlam. Hot way to start Raw right there. Let's see if TNA can match that. Well, in all honesty, it's not the most exciting start. It's a video package telling us the top 10 contenders for the world title. Somehow, the Welsh Roider Rob Terry makes the list. The Pope, Kurt Angle, Hernandez, AJ Styles, Jay Lethal, Samoan Joe, Mr. Anderson, Jeff Hardy, and the new #1 contender, the Monster Abyss. I'm not sure how he became the #1 contender because he didn't win at the pay-per-view, but he's here anyway. He's got his new girl Janice with him and a massive joint of meat. He says they will be coming soon and it will be the biggest moment in wrestling history. Whilst he waits for their instructions, he's going to explain Janice a bit more. He calls his stick sexy whilst kissing it. But she isn't always sexy because sometimes she likes pain and suffering. He attacks the joint of meat as a strange red liquid splatters over the cameras. The crowd chant, "Beat your meat." Now he's chewing on the meat like a vicious pit bull. RVD is going to realise what a bitch Janice is. Okay? Kinda the polar opposite to Raw right here. But there's no time for me to rant about that because the fight has broken out backstage. Taylor Wilde and Sarita are once again brawling in a corridor. These former tag team partners want to destroy each other. Apparently this all stemmed from something that happened over on Explosion, a show that nobody watched. It would have been nice if TNA could show what happened. This brawl goes on for a while, with Sarita screaming still ringing in my ears as they go to an advert break. We come back and these two are now having a street fight match. Taylor Wilde drills her with a steel chair. Sarita comes back with water to the face and she hides under the ring. She reappears and clubs Taylor from behind. Sarita sends her into the stairs. Now she's ripping up the ring mats. Taylor Wilde reverses whatever she was going for and hits a facebuster. Neither girl is taking it easy in this one. Taz starts telling a story about the last time he saw women like this, and then it all goes silent for 10 seconds. I'd love to hear the rest of that story, but they obviously cut something out. Nasty meeting with the girls on a steel chair. Taylor Wilde seems to be winning this match. She hits a drop kick on the outside, sending Sarita into the crowd. Sarita reappears from the crowd using somebody's handbag to choke out Taylor Wilde while screaming, "Die." The ref decides that Sarita has won the match. What a random, hard-hitting and kind of ugly match. I sort of liked it though. And if Sarita is getting a push, I'm all for that. Rob Van Dam is walking around backstage feeling cranky because he needs a fix or something. He isn't scared of abyss in his little stick. Now, the debut of Brooke Tessmacher. She quickly meets big sexy Kevin Nash, who's disappointed that the Grey Crew aren't about for him to talk to. Nash says there's something that he can do for her. He promises to fuck her or I don't know, he was muttering. On that note, let's switch back to Raw. Back on Raw, and Edge has refused to leave the ring, and he's demanding that Jericho comes back out. Edge thinks they've both been screwing each other's careers up for years and taking too many years off. Jericho doesn't want to end their never-ending feud though, and says tonight he's going to end Edge. He believes that he has Nexus in his back pocket due to Wade Barrett being his rookie before this. Edge doesn't understand what he's saying and thinks that the Nexus prefer him for some reason. This brings out that lovable bunch of lads. Wade Barrett calls them both legends and says they'd be lucky to be allies with either of them. The crowd chant boring. Barrett then seems to side with Chris Jericho as the entire Nexus start beating down on Edge. Ryback spears Edge. Jericho locks him in the walls of Jericho, but then looks up like a depressed Labrador, realising that the Nexus have him surrounded. Barrett doesn't like how Jericho tried to take credit for their actions, and now it's Jericho's turn to get beaten down. Presumably, nobody is coming to help these guys because everybody hates Edge and Jericho. They leave him laying to. In the back, Josh Matthews is feeling brave and he tries an interview. Matthews calls the Nexus the most dangerous group in wrestling history. Josh asks Wade Barrett if he's scared of Mark Henry, who he's going to be facing tonight. Barrett thinks it's Henry who's scared of him, and Josh Matthews leaves in a cloud of diarrhea drizzle. The Great White, Sheamus, now walks up calling Barrett's fella. Sheamus has a proposal for the Nexus. I guess we'll find out what that's about later on. Elsewhere backstage, it's John Cena who recently slipped into a roid rage when he once again lost a title match to Sheamus. Cena is feeling very sorry for himself and defeated. He wishes he shook Barrett's hand when he had the chance. John Cena is on the verge of tears as he offers to meet with Wade Barrett later tonight. Wade Barrett's feeling like one of the most important people on the show right now. Cena hints that he's going to join the Nexus. We get another match next with the women. Eve Torres taking on Maurice, who despite being a heel, gets a far better reaction than Eve. This will be a number one contendership match. It's crap, it goes about 1 minute. Eve hits a simple kick and makes the pin, with Maurice having her foot on the rope. The referee misses this though, which causes DiBiase to get in his face. He's Maurice's boyfriend or drug dealer or something. Johnny Morrison doesn't like what's happening and beats him up and hits the Starship Pain. Great, so do we now have to see Eve in yet another title bout? She just isn't working. She's fine, but doesn't seem to connect with the audience. Let's get back to TNA. There is a non-title I Quit match up next. Brian Kendrick versus Douglas Williams. Can these two hurry up and finish feuding? It feels like it's gone on forever now. Why is Doug asking him to quit after a simple clothesline? This just feels like TNA throwing out a bunch of stipulation matches to try and get viewers in. Williams catapults Kendrick into the mat. He puts on a Boston, which the ref stops straight away. Thankfully, Williams starts throwing him around with suplexes. Comically, the ref asks Kendrick if he quits just before he's thrown each time. Williams puts on his climbing gloves from the pay-per-view. That doesn't help him, and Kendrick smashes him a whole bunch of kicks, and he flies from the middle rope with a drop kick too. Douglas Williams slips out of a Cobra Clutch, but fails on his finisher too, and Kendrick gets the Cobra Clutch on anyway. Williams quits. Oh great, so this feud is continuing. The X Division, ladies and gentlemen. Randomly, Kevin Nash stomps out to the ring. Brian Kendrick looks like his aborted child. Kendrick threatens him, so Nash chokeslams him. Completely justified in this Hawk's opinion. Kevin Nash is sick of Hogan and Bischoff dodging him. When he dies, he's gonna never be replaced. He's 6'10", built like a god, gifted downstairs, which Tessmacher will find out in a minute. He's a living legend and he deserves attention. He plans to take out the entire TNA roster until Hogan speaks to him. Instead of Hogan, a wild Slapnuts appears.
Jeff Jarrett.
Feels like a very long time. I haven't missed him. Jarrett tries to talk sense into Nash. He says wrestling isn't about them anymore. Take Jay Lethal for instance. Slapnuts calls him a glory hound, which makes Nash almost lose his composure. Kevin Nash says he is the greatest worker in wrestling and he will always get the money. He doesn't trust Jeff and wants to know why he is backing Hogan and Bischoff. We will soon find out who the greatest worker is out of these two. In the back, Nash continues complaining. He doesn't understand how Jarrett had his company taken away from him and now he's defending the guys who took the company away from him. Nash promises tonight he's going to get all the answers that he needs. Jobber Desmond Wolfe. Why the fuck is Chelsea still with him? It's been months and his problems with his manager storyline hasn't gone anywhere. Annoyingly, he's facing the Welsh Roider, the 10th best wrestler in this company. Actually, it's a triple threat, also with Samoan Joe. The Samoan and the Roider box Wolf back and forth. He's kicked out of the ring and now we're down to a one-on-one situation. Nick Aldis Magnus is on commentary calling them both ugly gorillas in the mist. Wolf returns and actually manages to take Joe down. Magnus agrees that Rob Terry and Desmond Wolf are both his countrymen. Poor Wells. He made me laugh though, saying that Rob Terry isn't looking like much of a freak right now. He's looking more freaked out than anything. Desmond Wolf is working on Rob Terry's leg. What's the point? Wolf is propelled into Samoan Joe's gut on the apron. Terry starts throwing him and smacking him around the ring. He creams Wolf with a spin kick, but now Joe is back. He hits a diving leg lariat and locks Wolf in the Coquita clutch for the tap-out win. Even Chelsea is questioning her existence at this point. The downfall of Desmond Wolf is incredible. Joe shows respect to the Roider for some reason. The Nature Boy Ric Flair makes an announcement that it's going to send TNA in a direction that will make it spiral bigger and bigger. Yes, spiral is right. On that note, that's a great time to switch to Raw. Back on Raw, and the world champion, the Great White Sheamus, is here to cut a promo. He says he's beaten John Cena in 3 title matches in a row. He says this wasn't a fluke, even though the last 2 times he was getting help from the Nexus. Cena won't be getting another title shot now though, and he's going to the back of the queue. Oh cool, so we could get John Cena versus Yoshitatsu on pay-per-view. Sheamus has apparently asked for a truce with the Nexus. He will stay out of their business if they stay out of his. Probably not a good thing, Sheamus, considering that the only reason that you still have the belt is the Nexus. He thinks that Randy Orton will be their next target. In a cool twist, it's the Money in the Bank winner, The Miz, who would like to talk to him. He says Sheamus should stop worrying about the Nexus and start thinking about The Miz instead, because The Miz might cash in on him any week. He says he's going to be watching him. Sheamus is in a foul mood now, then a horrible ear-splitting noise plays and it's the anonymous GM. Michael Cole announces that Sheamus will be facing Evan Bourne right now. Bourne starts out quickly throwing kicks and knees, which sends Sheamus from the ring. Sheamus drops a brick in his nappy. His night has certainly gone from good to bad. In the ring, Bourne continues peppering him with kicks, but then runs into a clothesline. Sheamus starts torturing him across the ring bowl. Evan tries a comeback, but again, he runs into another move, this time a big side slam. Sheamus slaps him, which fires Bourne up. He goes back to his kicks. A big spinning heel kick knocks the Great White down, and once again from a drop kick. Bourne reverses the Irish Curse into a pin for a 2. Bourne hits another kick and thinks about going for the airborne. Sheamus bails to the outside where Bourne still manages to dive. Sheamus cuts him off on his way back into the ring and hits the Brogue Kick. That's enough to beat Bourne. Guess his push is over now then. The Miz immediately attacks Sheamus with his briefcase and considers cashing in. After a bit of a struggle, he hits the skull-crushing finale into the briefcase. The Miz is cashing in. Wow, just like that. The Miz desperately waits for the ref to ring the bell, but then randomly R-Truth's music hits. The Miz steals his case back and runs away. They clarify that because the bell never rang, the cash-in was never official. Good episode of Raw this one. Let's switch back to the Hulk Hogan show. Beer Money have just started their best of 5 series with the Motor City Machine Guns for the tag belts. This is a truly loved period by TNA fans. They had a match at the pay-per-view, and this one now is going to be a ladder match. How many stipulation matches would you like on this show tonight? Yes. Beer Money jumped the guns before the bell. Sabin saves his partner from a suplex and they hit stereo kicks and dives too. James Storm has the ladder set up in the corner. He can't do anything because the guns are kicking their asses. Finally, Rude manages a dodge in the corner as Shelley hits the ladder. Beer Money turn to the double teams now. They throw Sabin's nutsack into the ladder. Rude drop kicks the ladder into Shelley too. He manages to stop Rude from diving but takes a ladder to the gut. They then drop another ladder on top time and time again. Crisp Sabin returns now though and springboard drop kicks the ladder into Beer Money and a double stomp for good measure too. Chris Sabin stumbles when trying to run up a ladder in the corner and he pays for that when he turns around into a Rude clothesline. A ladder bridge is set up and Rude gets dropped face first into it. Elsewhere, Sabin is viciously dragged out of the ring like a piece of trash. Alex Shelley is tipped off the ladder and hit with a backstabber. Beer Money seem to have the advantage. Or not, because Storm's a dumbass and he takes the ladder down and instead he looks like he's going for a superplex onto the ladder. Chris Sabin fights him off into the Tree of Woe and does a hesitation dropkick to the ladder. Rude responds with a Turtle Wheel backbreaker. Alex Shelley's back now and the guns kick Rude onto another ladder out of the ring. Shelley bounces across him onto Storm and Sabin splashes Rude on the ladder. Everybody is going berserk for this match. This is such a TNA thing. WWE would have only had this sort of match on pay-per-view whilst TNA were just desperate to move the needle every week. In hindsight, it didn't work for them. But yeah, these men were killing themselves every week for this company. Somehow, everybody's back up. Storm is barged out of the ring. Rude hits big boot, which causes a ref bump. Pretty good ref bump too, to be fair. Sabin pulls down the contract, but there's no ref. James Storm blasts him from behind with a beer bottle, and Storm gets the contract for the win. Not sure if the ending made sense. I know in Ultimate X your feet have to touch the floor to win, but I don't think that applies to ladder matches. Hebner gave the match to Beer Money anyway. Good stuff. 3 more of these matches left in the series. In the back, Abyss is still being a weirdo smashing up a watermelon. Hilariously, Matt Boring is out now and he doesn't even get an entrance. He's facing the Pope D'Angelo De Niro. Morgan choke pushes the Pope into the corner and hits rapid fire elbows. Pope's fine and he pimp slaps and drop kicks Morgan. The code breaker, wait, that's the finish in about 30 seconds? What on earth? Why has the Pope stopped doing his finisher in the corner? It looks so much better. Matt Boring is a bad loser and he hits the Pope with a sack of shit. He hits the carbon footprint too. He wants to kick the Pope into the ring pole. Randomly, Mr. Anderson makes the save? Mr. Anderson making the save is so random. Guess he had nothing better to do on this show. No point feuding these two though, because Anderson is higher on the card than the Pope, who just beat Morgan in 30 seconds. Mr. Anderson looks like a Team version of Dustin Runnels with that beard. Pope refuses to shake hands. I don't really know what to say except let's get back to Raw. Back on Raw and The Miz looks miserable. He is fuming as he explains that the truth just cost him the world title. So I guess The Miz is going to get a bit distracted dealing with the truth for now. His world title aspirations will go on hold. Sheamus is walking around crying backstage and he thinks the divas are laughing at him. Randy Orton is also here. He says whoever is the champion at SummerSlam time is going to have to deal with him. Time for the joke matches of the night because Kozlov and Santino will be having a match against Zack Ryder and William Regal. Santino tries to show off some athleticism, but ultimately he trips over Ryder's back. He tags in Kozlov, who does one fireman's carry slam to Regal and tags back out. Santino is a jobber, and Regal boxes his face. Another smack gets him a 2. Zack Ryder misses a flying dropkick, and now Kozlov has the tag. Kozlov hits a simple kick and a power slam to Ryder. Regal has to break up the pin. Zack Ryder tries to jump him from behind, but goes straight into a Uranagi. Santino tags back in and hits a falling something for the 3. Hilarious. Imagine if this happened nowadays. People would need a whole pack of Pampers because their nappies would be well and truly filled over this one. Let's get back to the Grey crew. Or maybe the Blonde crew. Lacey Von Erich is trying to convince Velvet Sky that Madison Rayne is actually okay. Velvet is livid about the biker chick who appeared in Madison Rayne's match at the pay-per-view. She thinks that Madison is trying to bring a 4th person into the beautiful people. Madison Rayne is in the ring now. She is in a bad mood because her plan at the pay-per-view backfired and she lost her title on a DQ. The rule for that match was that none of the beautiful people could interfere or she'd be DQ'd. But they didn't actually interfere, it was only the mystery biker chick who interfered. She wants the decision reversed or she will sue TNA. This brings out the other beautiful people. Velvet complains about Madison trying to bring somebody else into their group without permission. Madison calls her a dumb blonde. Velvet is also upset about Madison saying she didn't need the beautiful people anymore. Madison pokes her in the boobs and says again she doesn't need them. They're about to fight when Angelina Love makes her way out. She calls them all ugly bitches. She says Kim Kardashian is an Oscar winner compared to them 3. Angelina Love thinks Velvet is the mystery biker chick due to her big boobs. The cameraman desperately zooms in on them. Velvet says the mystery biker has a dumpy ass and it clearly wasn't her. She calls Madison Rayne a skank bitch and says she doesn't want anything to do with this situation. Lacey is confused, just like always. Madison is now screeching give me back my title. These two look like twins. A fight begins over who is the bigger skank. Then a bike starts revving into the building and here's the mystery biker chick. The mystery woman chokes at Angelina Love. Madison DDTs Angelina into a chair. That's that. Jeff Hardy is backstage, close to slipping into one of his internal monologues, but just about manages to get his words out in the end. He says he'll beat Jay Lethal tonight and then he's going back to North Carolina. Well, we're going back to Raw. Back on the last part of Raw, and Wade Barrett is actually having a match, but it won't be easy because he's facing the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. No outside interference is allowed, like that'll matter. Henry headbutts him one time, which causes Barrett to bail. He comes back with his own headbutts. None of this hurts big old Mark Henry, and he clotheslines Barrett for a 2. It continues being bad news for Barrett as he runs into a slam. Henry considers splashing him when the Nexus start wandering out. That distracts Mark Henry so Barrett can hit him with a boot. Barrett picks him up from the top and hits a very, very dangerous looking wasteland. Man, I felt Barrett's back almost snapping under that pressure. That's the 3. Bad short match. Surprisingly, the Nexus don't stick the boot into Henry. Instead, Barrett calls out John Cena. Michael Tarver also gets to speak, which is a nice change. He says Cena needs to acknowledge that the Nexus run this company now, and if he does that, they will at least hear out what he has to say. Michael Tarver has impressed me with his mic skills every time, but he's not really a guy you hear anything about nowadays. Wiener's music hits, and the little kids go nuts. John Cena thanks Nexus for letting him have his time. Cena wishes he made a truce with them all like Sheamus did. He asks if they can have a truce with him too. Barrett says no, and Cena looks like he's about to cry. I just truly love when he looks so miserable and things aren't going his way. Wade Barrett wants Cena to join the Nexus instead. They're really trying to get this phrase over tonight as well. You're either Nexus or you're against us. John Cena tries to hold back tears as he tells Barrett he can't do it. Barrett tells him to leave the ring like a coward or they're going to destroy him. Cena stomps off with his tail between his ass, but then he stops and says he's got some help and they're going to meet them at the pay-per-view, and this new team will take down the Nexus. The team members seem to be going okay, but then, for some ungodly reason, the Great Khali is named as part of Cena's team. Why the Great Khali? He hasn't anything to do with the Nexus, and he's been in comedy segments. The last man of the team is Bret Hart, who was beaten up ages ago by the Nexus. That's enough to cause the Nexus to dump in their nappies of fear and leave. Before I offer my final thoughts, we've got to catch the last part of the Stoner Show. Jay Lethal is here for his match against Jeff Hardy. TNA, why would you do this? You've just had Jay Lethal coming off this epic feud with Ric Flair, and he'll be as hot as he'll ever be. He's ranked number 5, but then you put him in a match with a guy who's ranked higher and is even more popular than he is. This isn't going to end well. You should have just had Jay Lethal continue winning matches against the upper mid-card right now, not in matches where he has no chance. Yeah, Jeff almost beats him straight away with his leg drop pin. Lethal manages to connect with a springboard dropkick to knock Hardy from the ring. Lethal takes a dive out of the ring. This guy is rapid. The ECW guys come out to watch the show, just like they do every week. I guess they couldn't be bothered to watch the whole show though. Lethal fights off a twist of fate into a cartwheel dropkick for a 2. Jeff Hardy responds with a whisper in your ass. Both guys are down now. Raven stares intently. I couldn't help but think, what a dick. Hardy is now gaining a foothold in this one with some typical Jeff Hardy offense. Lethal manages to block a corner dropkick and flies into the ring with a springboard dropkick for a 2. He looks to finish off Jeff as the crowd chant Hardy. Jeff reverses the Lethal combination into a twist of fate. The Swanton Bomb connects, and that's that. Fuck you, TNA. Did you really have to have him beat Lethal so easily? Hell, even when Slapnuts was feuding with Jay Lethal back in the day, he put him over way more than Hardy did. This whole thing sucks, and now the Ric Flair feud was a waste of time. What dumbasses. The show closes out with Ric Flair's big announcement. He reveals that he has finally decided on some official members of Fortune. This is his new 4 Horsemen faction. He chooses AJ Styles and Kazarian. Jobber Wolf miserably comes down the ramp. Wolf thinks he belongs in the faction due to him helping them out on the pay-per-view. It sounds like Wolf has no chance, but Abyss is out now. Everybody scatters like a flock of pregnant seagulls. Abyss calls out No Job Rob. Abyss tells Rob that very soon they are coming to take over TNA. Abyss is here to pave the way for them by getting the TNA World title. Abyss proposes that his stick Janice is hung above the ring for an extreme ladder match. He vows to hit Rob with his stick. Rob eventually smacks Abyss in the face. Rob has Abyss rock him, but he's terrified of the stick in the corner. Abyss blocks a monkey flip and hits a big boot. He hits the chokeslam and now he turns his attention to the stick. Mick Foley randomly wanders out. He hasn't been on the show since the Monday Night War. The ECW guys all hop the guardrail and jump Abyss. Gunnar and Murphy hilariously get beaten up. TNA wrestlers start running out to fight the ECW guys. Not really sure why, they're only beating up Abyss, nobody likes him. D'Lo Brown and Terry Taylor even get into it. Al Snow and the Diamond Man seem to have joined the ECW side. Nobody has any idea what's happening, it's chaos. Jeff Jarrett eventually arrives with the police. This brawl lasts about 5 minutes and it's pretty crazy. Dixie Carter starts screaming stop and she reveals that she invited the ECW guys here. Not sure why Al Snow is so confused. And that's the show. Oh, wow. You know, TNA in 2010 gets a lot of hate, but some of these shows are really exciting. I really liked this period of the Abyss characters before they were revealed, and he really should have been the world champion because this is some of his best work. His best promos, matches, and believability. Everything was great. At this point, this guy's clearly not an idiot. Aside from the X Division, which sucks, everything else was very watchable and funny. Not happy with the Jay Lethal situation, but at least the match was quite good. And also, wow, that's the best episode of Raw that I've seen in a while. The Nexus storyline is pretty good right now, and it's refreshing to see Cena away from the title picture doing something else, but meanwhile the title picture is getting hot. Lots of praise for this one. this might be the closest race we've ever had on this series. I'm going to put this one down to the Shove It Squad again. I will pin a comment at the top, and you need to like the comment for a WWE win and reply to the comment for a TNA win. Who had the better show? Find out next week, and if you don't agree with that, I'll make your life bleak.